Hi, how are you? This is Patty with the PIC TV Network. And I want to ask you a question. Do you believe in miracles? I do. And guess what? So does Project Smiles. We have created so many miracles last year and continue to create miracles as the season comes around with the holidays. We are asking you to please give a gift from the heart, only from the heart, and pay it forward with a miracle. I do want to share a testimony of my miracle. I received a car. It was a gift. It was a great gift. It was so well received. And my friend, it wasn't a family member, it was a friend who was so generous that gave it to me. She represents gratitude. She's a person of gratitude, and she reminds me to be grateful. She sees the good in paying it forward, and she also is always giving straight from her heart. So again, I just want to share that miracles happen every day, and you could be a part of that. You could not only be a receiver of a miracle like me, but also be a giver of a miracle as well as me. Here at the PIC TV Network, we're all about love and compassion and helping each other rise up. So again, Project Smiles for the PIC TV Network.
How old is he?
Say 10 months.
10 months, and he's got PIC TV at 10 months old. Look at that. That's our brand new member of the PIC TV Network, folks. He is so happy.
He is a good happy baby.
Wow. Go PIC TV. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Evans, PIC TV Network. We're so happy once again to reach the world on our brand new television show. Now, this is Hello America for the whole world, and we want to thank you guys for checking in with us on our Hello America television show. I'm so happy today for our special guest. Everybody loves Patty. Everybody loves our special guest, Michelle Cox. These are award-winning television anchors on the PIC TV Network. And I want to say hello to Patty, and I want to say hello to Michelle before we bring in our special guest. These are Patty and Michelle. We have a special guest coming on with us today on Hello America. Before we bring her on, I want to say, Patty, congratulations on that commercial. That is going to win a 5-star for our anniversary. That commercial was We can't do.
Well, it was inspired by, by Project Smiles. What can I tell you? It was a real miracle, and you're one of the first people I've heard about it, because I was just like so excited, and we had talked on the phone, and I'm like, oh, by the way, and you're like, you just got to share that. So I just said, he's right, and it was so apropos. Because that's what it's all about, right? It's about making miracles, and Project Smiles is right there on the forefront when it comes to miracles, because we saw it happen last year, and we're continuing on that mission. So again, it's about spreading kindness, and the show today is again, we're going to need a miracle. We're going to need a miracle, right, Michelle? And over to you.
I'm so happy, when you are my heartbeat of Pick TV Network. We have done so many news shows, reconnecting the generation. We talked about, the food deserts. We cried on here when we had to cover stories of people who, Ukraine, and man, we covered so many stories last year, folks, and these are award winning, from New York to Atlanta to Washington, D.C. And I'm so happy. Michelle Cox, you are my right hand. You talk about what's going on in Michelle Cox's life.
Well, I've got a lot going on. We're going to be raising $90 million for Grady Hospital. We have Building Our Future as our fundraiser to raise money to help them build their new wing. Also, because we're a level 1 trauma hospital in Atlanta. What's going on is we just lost a hospital, and we'll talk about that a little later. And I've written a brand new book, and we'll be launching that soon. I've also been nominated for a Distinguished Authors Guild Award. Wow. So there's a lot going on in my life. We'll be running some ads and running some campaigns, but I'm also going to be starting a new program for the Pick TV network. And it's going to be talking about the power and importance of reading. So you'll see a lot of good interviews from a lot of people that you'd like to know real soon.
Yeah, and I'm so happy. Patty was covering footage for us at the New York Fashion Week. That was amazing, Patty. And, we got so much to talk about. We got to talk about Ukraine. You guys, these are anchors, y'all, for Pick TV Network. Those are watching in. We've got people chatting in. These are my number one and number two anchors on Pick TV Network. But before we go there, we have a special guest on Hello America, a brand new television show on Pick TV Network. We have the Prison Freedom channel, and that shows with people coming from prison to a new vision and changing the world. And I want to thank Brother O, who's leading that channel, who's doing a wonderful job. He had Benny on. He had folks on who had 60 years. And they're free. He had folk on who had 24 years. And this is a special segment today, folks. So we want to chat in today. And I'm going to get off the screen so these anchors can bring on our special guest today. So, we'll talk afterwards. I'll see you guys a little later.
Sounds good, Dr. Evans. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it is our pleasure to introduce now us to you guys in Hello America, to Doris Elaine Smar, Executive Director for Equal Justice for All People. Michelle, would you also like to do an introduction as what you...
All right. So here at this Hello America special, Patty has found this amazing woman that's doing awesome work in the community to help people that are wrongly convicted get their fair day in court. Patty found this wonderful, amazing woman. And Patty, our New York anchor, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, and now over to Miss Doris Elaine Smar. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And this big one. So everybody, pay attention. Over to you, Doris, and welcome to Hello America on Pick TV Network.
Good day, everyone. My name is Doris Elaine Smar, and I am truly honored to be here today with Pick TV Network and Dr. David Evans. Thank you so much for inviting me. I am Executive Director of Equal Justice for All People. We are a nonprofit organization which investigates, educate, advocate, and eradicate injustice within the American system of justice. I am here advocating on behalf of Mr. Brian Keith Tate, a gentleman who has been wrongfully incarcerated for over 32 years. And I thank you for permitting me to come on today to try to shed some light on this case and the injustice has been perpetrated upon this man. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Smart, let me ask you a couple of questions. First things
Yes.
first, let's think about what are the events that led up to Mr. Tate's incarceration and how long has he been incarcerated?
The events that led up to his incarceration were completely fabricated. He was accused of rape, burglary, and several other charges for which he did not commit. And he has been incarcerated over 32 years. We have filed a petition with the current governor, Roy Cooper, which he has refused to review, stating that Mr. Tate is eligible for parole. However, the parole date is not until 2040, another 18 years from now. The thing is, we filed the original petition in 2010 when former Governor Beverly Perdue was in office. She found merit with the case. I was contacted by the Executive Clemency Office and stated they were working on it, and she was trying to get as many cases resolved prior to her leaving office. However, this did not occur, but she left the petition on the incoming governor, Patrick McCrory's desk to complete the investigation and sign off on the petition. Governor Patrick McCrory immediately, without any further investigation, denied the petition, stating that we could reapply in 3 years. I was unable to apply in 3 years due to illness, but I did reapply when Governor Cooper was elected to office. So the case, I understand, is under review, and we are waiting to receive a decision.
Okay.
However, over 32 years, being wrongfully incarcerated should not occur.
All right,
And
let me just break in for a second because you said wrongfully incarcerated. So this gentleman that was, we're going to assume, minding his own business, all of a sudden he's approached by the police and he's arrested. What was he initially arrested on?
see, this is where it gets sort of sticky because we're not really sure. The police had been attempting to have him incarcerated prior to this incident. They had arrested him, I understand, a few times, and due to lack of evidence, the magistrate would release him. I was contacted by a gentleman whom I do not know, stating that the detectives were angry because the magistrate kept releasing Brian Keith Tate due to lack of evidence. And these detectives were determined that they were going to get something on Brian Keith Tate.
So
And
these detectives, were they, what charges were they trying to pin on Mr. Tate?
I think anything that they could pin on him, and they took this opportunity with this particular case, which was totally and completely fabricated. And if you read the documents, which I have several times, you will realize that this is a total and complete fabrication of non-existent evidence, perjury, witness tampering, misstatements, etc. And even the sad thing is children were used to perpetrate this injustice.
So tell us more about how the children were used in this case. Tell me
Uh,
more about some of the things that we're witnessing. And we talked a little bit earlier by his cousin on the states of this case, because I know his cousin had been in court um, every day that he was in court. So give us a little bit more background on why you think these particular cops were setting him up, what the charges were before this case, if you can give us some light on that.
And wait, before you answer that, remember, it's not only what she thinks. Remember, Michelle, she has testimonies filed that should have been presented in court. So these are testimonies also, if you want to also talk about those testimonies as well for the informants. Over to you, Doris.
Okay, well, let's start first of all with the children. There were 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 10, and a 6-week-old baby in the room with the mother when Brian Keith Tate and a cousin allegedly broke into the house through a window. And I think you have a picture of the window and the door. And I'd like for you to take a look at that, because what was stated was fabricated, and it was not possible for them or him to enter through the window, because it was the type of frame window that was being held by a metal encasement. And I confirmed with the manager of the complex that it was not possible for the screen or anything to be removed from the outside. It had to be removed from the inside because it was actually locked from the inside. So the statement from the police was that they did not find any evidence of forced entry through the door. And if we're able to show that picture, you'll see the window and the door are right there together. It would have been very simple for someone to access the house through the door rather than climbing up 4 feet to pry a screen off of a window. I've spoken with the current residents of the house, also former residents, and they said it's impossible without tearing the screen completely up, and it would be extremely noisy. The victim, alleged victim, stated that when she went to sleep on the sofa, which was located directly in front of the window, that the screen and a fan was in the window. That could not have possibly occurred.
So he had no egress through the window.
No.
There's testimony in fact that could not happen.
That could not happen.
Now, tell us about the DNA evidence, or the lack of DNA evidence in this case, and why, looking at this substantial evidence, why this man is still incarcerated. Please give us some facts about the DNA evidence, please.
Well, first of all, there was really no substantial DNA. When Mr. Tate was originally incarcerated, blood was drawn. He was actually set free on a bond, $150,000 bond. Several months later, he was arrested again. He was actually taken to the hospital. More blood was drawn. Blood was drawn a 3rd time. The results was that it was basically inconclusive. And if I can read this to you, initially these samples were sent to the state SBI in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, evidently, they were not able to conclude that Mr. Brian Keith Tate DNA was present. It's the understanding from the court papers that samples were sent to the federal FBI agency in Washington, D.C., and they concluded that one of the minor contributors and one of the major contributors, there were two, and they concluded that there was certain parts of the DNA profile from the minor contributor that matched the DNA of Brian Keith Tate. However, it was inconclusive because there was not a complete profile. The major contributor, the cousin, they attributed 98% of his DNA. Okay, now, through my investigation, I learned that this lady was very promiscuous and perhaps was actually selling herself for money. Several men contacted me stating that they frequented her when her husband was at work. Now, keeping in mind, this is a Caucasian woman and two men of color. When this lady was taken to the hospital, she stated that only one man had raped her. But over the next year and a half, it morphed into two men. Now, how did that happen? The detectives continued to try to find evidence that Brian Keith Tate was involved in a rape. And really, they never proved that he was. It was basically information that was fabricated.
So this is a travesty of justice, and they set out to frame this innocent man by taking the word of this person over his. But even with the evidence, there is no evidence that links him to that crime, because if he had broken into the window or there had been a burglary, he would have left DNA. There would have been blood or something in the apartment, correct?
It should have been. According to the detective, there were no fingerprints on the doorknob, on the window frame, on the refrigerator door, which one of them allegedly opened for some reason, on the canister where they stated they found a hair, on the cabinet and glass where they stated a VCR was stolen. In other words, there was actually no latent prints of either men in the residence.
Wow. Now, let me ask you another question, because you stated that she has children. So, and the children, from what you told us, were in the house when this alleged rape occurred. Can you give us some details about the children and their testimony, please?
Actually, on the day of the alleged incidents, the children were, what the detective said, were so traumatized that they could not give a statement. Now, I conduct court watch and I work with several cases, and I know in the area where I live, many times when children are involved, the detectives will not take a statement from the children. And this is on purpose, okay? The children did not give a statement. It was only a year and a half later that they could positively identify Brian Keith Tate after they had sat in court 4 days observing him and were actually pointed out by the prosecutor. His cousin, Kenneth, actually sat behind him in court, and he noticed that the defense attorney and the prosecutor were basically friendly with one another. He was not paying attention to his client or what was being presented. And I'd like for you to look at this picture that's on the screen. This is allegedly the window where Brian Keith Tate entered the residence. You see to the right of that is the front door. Now, it's screened and it's wood. Why would someone want to shimmy up 4 feet, because I measured it myself, 4 feet from the porch up to remove a window which could not be removed from the outside without completely destroying it? And you would have had to have tools to do this. But now I want to get back to the children, because the children were allegedly lying on the floor in the living room. If you look at, yes, thank you. If you look at this picture, you see the sofa to your left is in front of the windows. There are 2 windows there. The next area where you see the brown spot, go back to your left, right after the couch. That is where the dining room is located. You cannot sit or lie on the couch and look into the dining room, which was alleged by one of the children, the 10-year-old. It's impossible. I sat on the couch and I could not look into the dining room, period. And based on the children's testimony and the husband's testimony, the TV would have been located on the right towards the door. So if you are lying on the floor in front of the couch watching TV, you're not going to be lying in front of the kitchen or in front of the dining room opening. So that did not happen. Also, the alleged victim stated to the doctor when she went to the hospital that only one man raped her. This did not happen. The rape kits, the original blood, they stated was lost or misplaced. Yes, lost or misplaced. But the evidence was mishandled from the very beginning. The detectives allegedly put evidence in a canister, which was placed in the detective's desk drawer.
So the chain of custody was broken with
Yes.
evidentiary procedure.
Yes. Not only that, allegedly, the evidence was not turned into the evidence room until 4 days later. The rape kit was being driven around town in the patrol car. It wasn't immediately taken and documented.
And Doris, didn't you mention that the judge knew about all this, misplacements, and didn't he report on this, the judge, as well?
Well, the judge was, first of all, a female. Okay, a female. I don't think she was there. I really think because of systemic racism, this case was actually decided before it started. This man is obvious. If you read the case load, then you will see all of the major discrepancies, evidence being presented in the court, which was not available. Now, back to the DNA. The doctor stated on the witness stand he did not know if the rape kit was the rape kit which he took, because it had to be open to see his initials, his signature. No one requested that it be open. So there was no proof that it was even a rape kit. It was just a box.
So all of this leading up to this, there's so much mishandling of all this information and all of the evidence. Doris, I want you to hold on 1 second. We're going to commercial break, and we're going to be right back to get more information on this case. And wow, there's so many things that we are learning about this miscarriage of justice in North Carolina. with Mr. Brian Keith Tate.
We are, and it's a lot. It's a lot to digest, but it needs to be heard, and we need to get to the bottom of it. And I have a couple of conclusions myself, but we'll talk about it after commercial break.
Sounds good. This is the PIC TV Network, Hello America special, and we'll be back momentarily.
They say your eyes are the windows to the soul. They're also the windows to your health because they let eye doctors see what's going on inside. Think about this. A comprehensive eye exam can be an early detector of serious health problems like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Shouldn't you see your eye doctor yearly? Go to thinkaboutyoureyes.com to learn more and for a list of local eye doctors. It could help save more than your vision.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Said the Entertainer. I want y'all to check out PIC TV Network. That's right, PIC TV Network. They got 60 free channels on Roku. This is dope. They also started the brand new Coaching World channel at $9.89. So, if you are a content provider, you are a young business with an opportunity to build a platform where you can have your own show, do some programming, check out PIC TV Network on Roku. They got over 60 free channels for you to check out and also grow a business. Go and see them now. See the content. See what they have to do. Learn something. Check them out. All right? PIC TV Network. That's what I'm talking about. Holla.
Hello, everybody. We're right back here once again on the Hello America brand new hit show on the PIC TV Network. I'm so happy today to be with my special co-host today, Patty. I just want to take a moment, and I'm going to bring Michelle up in a few minutes. This topic is it's so big. You know, when you came on and said, I wanted to bring on Doris to talk about this subject today, and, you know, it was so dear to you, and I want to bring Michelle on. Michelle, we had so many topics that we covered on PIC TV Network with you guys. From the death of the explosion that happened last year with the kids getting shot down, we cried together on Hello America, reconnecting the generation. We talked about artificial intelligence. Patty, we talked about so many things, kids going off to school, how do we treat our parents when they get old. Now with this subject today, Patty, I can tell it's very dear to you, Patty. And before we bring Doris back, can you talk about why that is?
Because we live in America and it's about justice, and the organization says it all right there. Justice for all. But Michelle, I mean, we need to make sure that we are heard. The fact that there's so many facts, okay, facts that clearly should allow him to be released. But my this is again my opinion, but it seems like with all the facts that had merit, where Beverly Perdue, who was congresswoman at the time, saw
Yeah, she was the governor
merit,
at the time. Right.
Okay, somebody doesn't want to look bad on the outside. Somebody doesn't want to look bad on the outside, and they're letting an innocent man with facts to allow him out, not serve justice. And you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm here for justice. I'm an American, and I want justice. So I stand by Doris. I know you shared about your experience with your godson, the petition. It's not the first one we've signed. Your channel here on the PIC TV network, the channel of Prison Freedom channel. I mean, that's very inspirational. All the success stories, that makes my heart warm to know this is not in vain. 11 years, Mrs. Smart, Doris Elaine Smart, 11 years invested in this. She's not doing this for fun. This is a purposeful, and we need to stick together in this. And so if anybody hears this, anybody sees this, sign the petition. We'll be sharing it, and we need to spread the word and stick to each other and stand by each other. Back to you.
All right.
Michelle, I wanted to say to you, being down south, we looked at certain things. We talked about this on one of our broadcasts about the Devil's Punch Bowl. Many people don't even know that's on the internet. The further you go back in time, we see how we were in shackles. We see how, we couldn't be pulling over the side of the road down south and you may not come back home. My father, John H. Evans, had 9 kids, didn't even have a high school diploma, because in this day he was trying to run for freedom. You know what that feels like, Michelle, to be down there and to be racially profiled and to, be in a position where, like George Floyd, somebody stepping on you. And it's still happening today. And I want to thank Patty for taking a stand, for Breonna Thompson and all of the others who, Michelle, you can name those names more than I can, the people whose lives are gone.
Well, the thing about growing up in the South, and when we talk about the South, we're talking about North Carolina all the way down to Florida, all the way over to Texas. In the 60s and 70s, when I grew up, we had the civil rights movement. We had to, because for the people, especially young people, Black people didn't get the right to vote until 1965. Integration was also put on the table that year as well, but didn't fully happen until 1969. And Mississippi was one of the last states to enact integration. They had to be forced into this. Now, we've had literally hundreds of Black towns that were burned out. Today is one of the anniversaries of the Atlanta massacre that happened back in 1906, where we had mobs of angry whites coming in, killing Black people because they were Black and because they were successful. So we talk about a system in America that says justice for all, freedom for all, pull yourself up by their bootstraps. But we have time and time again historical information on this system systematically keeping people down. We talk about slavery, we talk about Jim Crow rule. And even in that, in sharecropping, some of the things that were going on was they didn't want you to grow substance crops. They only wanted you to grow crops that would benefit them. And they were cheating people by keeping people illiterate. not being able to read, not being educated. So this is a systemic thing. Now, when we talk about the racial injustice as far as policing and incarceration, this has been going on a long time, because if you think about the slave patrols, they were there to make sure that Black people were kept in place. This was the start of the police. It was there, and this systematic system was keeping Black people oppressed. It still does, because if you think about it, when Black men are out of the family starts to degrade. Also, it dilutes the voting strength of the Black community. Anytime you're incarcerated, you lose your right to vote. You lose your right as a full citizen. So these are the things that go on when we talk about the inadequacies or the improprieties of incorrect police action on the Black community. Now, it's not only police, it's the judging system. It's how we are giving the different sentences or disparate sentence for the same crimes that a white person would commit. That's why when we see cases like this, and there are many of them, we're talking about Miss Doris Elaine Smar and her organization, but there's also the Equal Justice Initiative. They've helped exonerate over 2,000 wrongfully convicted Black men in just the United States alone. Over 2,000. So when you think about this, these cases are consistently coming up. But we also know if you get people in and they don't get representation, a lot of them have died in the system being innocent. And I'm not talking about, people that are in gangs and I'm talking about actual innocent people that are being accosted, and police are doing these illegal activities of framing them for crimes that they didn't commit. They're breaking up families. They're taking away lives, and they're diluting the power of the Black community. Patty, back to you.
Well, that's why we have to thank goodness with Doris Elaine Smar. It's really important that this doesn't get away with murder. It's the legal system's getting away with murder, and that's wrong. That's wrong. Again, this case, there's facts that it's been tainted. It's not just opinion. Yes, we all have our opinion about it, but we're sticking to the facts, and the facts are not being addressed. So something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. Again, some things are opinion based. Like, an old opinion that doesn't seem fair in a case like this. But again, there are just so many things that back up the wrongfulness, the misconduct. It's just ridiculous. So now it seems to be more of a cover-up on the people on the outside. The people that put them in wrongfully, now they're not letting them out, not because they don't have the facts to let them out, because they don't want to look bad. Again, this is my opinion, but that's the only thing that seems to make logic. In a court of law, you have to have logic, and those are the only things that seem to add up. Back to you, Dr. David.
Michelle and Patty from New York. I'm reading from the Baltimore News yesterday. A man freed from 17 years after wrongfully convicted for murder. Almost 17 years behind bars for a murder officials now admit that he never committed. David Morris walked out on Thursday as a free man. But Patty, that was 17 years, Michelle. 17 years of his life is gone, Patty. He can never get that back. Michelle,
think about it. Jamie Foxx had a role in this movie. And it was about a gentleman from Alabama that had been framed and spent 30 years incarcerated. This is not new. Over 2,100 Black men have been exonerated for wrongful conviction. And we know that there are thousands more in the penal system. because they have a prison pipeline for Black men. Did you know that your third grade reading scores will determine if you're going to go to prison or not? And that's especially true for Black males. And that's what's crazy.
That really is what is crazy. I don't even know what to say to that one. The only thing is, again, Dr. David talked about the 17 years. You can't get that back. But I got to say, it still gives hope. It still gives hope. I am hopeful that after 32 years in prison, that, Brian Tate gets released. I am glad that it's with Governor Cooper. Again, hope, and being able to air it on platforms like the PIC TV network, which, is proudly owned, People's Investment Network, Black owned. There's no stopping us. There's no stopping us here. They're going to hear us. They're going to hear us, and they're going to see the truth, and they're going to hear the truth. And 17 years may have been lost, but it's giving hope to those that are still imprisoned, and I'm thankful for that.
Well, Dr. Evans, let's talk about the fact that now there are bills on the table in Congress where if you've been wrongfully convicted, you don't have redress. You can't be reparated for your time spent. You cannot sue to get the money owed to you for the lost time, the lost wages, the lost wealth, the lost income. Those are other ways that they are oppressing economically and stealing lives in this system. Now, Dr. Evans, is Ms. Smar still here with us? Because I'd like to continue to ask her questions about this case.
Yes, we're going to bring her in. We're going to have another segment too, because we got about 10 more minutes on this presentation today. But I wanted to say before she comes back on and we close out the segment, we have to keep shows like this alive. And I want to say thank you, Patty. Thank you, Michelle. You guys are award-winning PIC TV network. Award-winning. And people, you can cover so many shows. And I'm so happy for all of the big shows. And we're going to get back into recovery. I can't wait till we come back and talk about Ukraine. Till we talk about, the people over there still trying to get free and how we can help, Project Smiles, people really losing their jobs. Patty, I want you to give us an update on 9/11. After 9/11, still a lot of people going on. What's going on in the military today? Are we really out of COVID? I can't wait to ask Michelle that, because the president said my son caught it, my brother caught it in the last couple of weeks, one of my pastor friends. I can't wait till we talk about that subject. Yeah, we bring her in for the last 10 minutes, Patty. Then we'll go to our next segment.
Okay.
Awesome. So, Ms. Smar, I find it absolutely ridiculous with the body of evidence that you have that they haven't overturned this wrongful conviction. Tell us with this last 10 minutes what your thoughts are, and also tell us about some of the people that have contacted you to collaborate the information that you shared with us today.
The last question first. No one has contacted me, but I've been in contact with Attorney Lattimore out of Charlotte and with the North Carolina Actual Innocence Project. Attorney Christine Muma is working on the case, and these attorneys have found merit in the case. But since we only have 10 minutes, I would just like to discuss the Swecker report with you. Back in 2010, our current governor, as Attorney General, ordered an investigation into the North Carolina State SBI lab. There was a policy of perjury and lies within the organization. And it showed that in many cases, the SBI agents were reporting blood tests when there was no blood present. They were reporting information that was just totally fabricated. And other agents were using that information to testify in other cases. I have the report here, the Swecker report, and it was a policy of perjury that was investigated and proven. Now, I don't understand why our current governor, Roy Cooper, who ordered this investigation and received the results of this investigation, cannot have this case reviewed thoroughly, since the FBI concluded there was insufficient information to even show that a complete file was available. This and this was only 200 plus cases that were investigated, and a lot of these cases reviewed by former SBI agent Chris Swecker, it was determined that the SBI exaggerated the significance of the screening test to the prosecutors. The SBI failed to report that in its second, more accurate test, they found no blood present, or the test produced inconclusive results. This is the case with Brian Keith Tate. It was inconclusive. They kept taking blood, and the blood and the evidence was totally mishandled. So I'm not understanding why this case cannot be thoroughly investigated. I was told that since the rape kit was destroyed and there is no blood, immediately destroyed. But we still don't know if it was the victim's samples, because it was not open up to reveal the physician's initials or signature. So how do we know what was there, since it was held out for 4 days?
So so many protocols were broken. Chain of custody was broken.
Yes.
Evidence was tampered with. That's what I'm hearing, and this is what I'm getting from the information that you're giving me.
Yes.
So on all the merits of what you've brought to the case, the only thing that we can conclude is Governor Cooper is a Republican.
No, he is a Democrat.
He's a Democrat. So why isn't he looking at the cases? Why does he refuse to look at this case?
That is my question.
Especially since the governor before him had already found merit in the case. Is that correct?
The former Governor Beverly Perdue, a Democrat, found merit in the case and was working on the case, but left office before. She had several cases she was working on, and she didn't get to all of them.
So why do you think Mr. Cooper, Governor Cooper?
No, former Governor Patrick McCrory denied the petition.
Okay, so why did Governor? Why do you think he denied the petition? Because it makes no sense.
Because he didn't care. It's just that simple. He did not care.
And
this is another theory. This is another theory that I feel strong about, is that they don't want to look bad on the outside. You know, they don't want to look bad. It's not that they don't care, that they clearly don't care about about Brian. They clearly don't care about Brian Tate. But at the same time, it's more about, it seems like to me, that they're covering up their tracks. You know, they don't want to look bad. They don't want to look like they did something wrong. So it's better just to bury it.
And it's also systemic racism. Systemic racism. A man of color and a Caucasian woman. We live in an area where we have a lot of white supremacists, a lot of hate groups, and they don't care. They really do not care.
So, Miss Smar,
Yes.
have you been threatened? Have you been threatened over this case?
Yes, in the past, I have been. Yes. But you know
So,
what? I'm not afraid of threats. That just makes me more determined to find the truth, to get it out here. Because it's not only Mr. Tate, it's so many others. And I am proud to state that I work very well with law enforcement. I highly respect them. I have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and we can discuss these cases and work together. And a lot of times we can resolve them. This particular case, I simply don't understand why it cannot be thoroughly investigated. All of the evidence looked at. One lady went to the district attorney because the co-defendant stated to her that Keith had nothing to do with the rape. He wasn't there. The informant that I spoke with you previously regarding the statement he made to me stated that he knew the person that was with the co-defendant that night. And it was not a man of color, but perhaps a Caucasian who had a very dark suntan. It was August the 25th. These gentlemen were wearing shorts and sneakers. The police reported that they were wearing blue jeans and sneakers. One of the witnesses that contacted me stated they came to their house after they had visited with this lady, and they were invited guests because she was selling herself for money. Okay. They changed clothing at these individuals' home, and they were shorts. They were not blue jeans. And when the police went to Mr. Tate's home and were getting ready to arrest him, one of the officers picked up a pair of blue jeans and handed it to Mr. Tate and stated a gun fell out of the pocket. Well, the gun was on the dresser because it belonged to Mr. Tate's sister. And she stated that it belonged to her. And it was not a new gun. Okay. I think I showed you the gun that it was, and also the gun that was destroyed had 7 serial numbers. The gun she owned only had 6 serial numbers. So it was not the same gun.
wow.
Yes.
Well, Miss Smar, we're going to have part 2 of this.
Yes, please.
I hate to close this out because we have so much information. There's such a deep dive. And I'm hoping that when we come back for part 2, that we can bring in Mr. Tate's cousin, Kenneth Tate, because he sat in court every day, and he can give us even more insight to all the information you gave us.
Yes. And he can confirm that Brian Keith Tate was not properly represented. It's documented that he received inept representation. Well, actually, none.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for shining a light on this injustice.
Thank you.
We have to make sure that we sign the petition to free Kenneth Tate. You've heard it here. You've heard the information. Now, if you need to get in touch with Miss Smar, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
You can do that. We have a link up. Also, any information, if you're watching this program and you have information about this case and you know this man is innocent, please, it's your fiduciary duty to make sure that justice for all people is served in this case. This is Hello America. This is our special from the PIC TV network. We thank you for watching with us. Ms. Smar, thank you so much, and God bless your work.
Thank you, and God bless you also.
And that concludes this broadcast. Patty,
Thank you,
my
Patty.
awesome co-host, thank you for finding this story. You're a blessing.
Yes, thank
And
you.
We know that this is the miracle that you're talking about. We are going to help
I
this
believe in
man
miracles.
get out of prison.
I believe in miracles. I do believe in miracles. And I also believe in community and standing together and justice for all. Back to you, Michelle.
Patty, and I want to thank your award-winning host, you guys, Patty, and also Michelle Cox. Folks, sign the petition. I just signed it. It was about 500 signatures, and I signed it just now while we were on. I had to do it, Patty, because I had to support. You know, Miss Doris is an everyday person, Patty. She's not a big person in D.C., you know, on Capitol Hill. She's an everyday person fighting to give an everyday person another shot. And this is one of the reasons why we have the Prison Freedom Channel also, From Prison to a New Vision. You know, Michelle, right behind me is the White House. Right in between is the Capitol. You know, there's a lot of people watching this right now, and the power of media and presentations and stories like this can help people get another shot. And I want to thank you, Michelle, for co-hosting with Patty and putting this together. Patty, it was a blessing, you know, and I pray that this will go out and repeat it over and over again, and more people will see it. More people will see this show. There it go, y'all. More people will see the shows and programs we have, and part 2 will come up again. We love you guys so much. Hey, we'll come back. We got another setting. I'm gonna bring Patty and Michelle. We got another setting show after this, and I want to talk about is the shots really over? So, yeah, we heard the president, and we're gonna just talk a little bit about that and a little more, couple of things about Pick TV Network. So, thank you for your time. We'll see you on the next show with Patty and Michelle Cox.
Hi, how are you? This is Patty with the Pick TV Network. And I want to ask you a question. Do you believe in miracles? I do. And guess what? So does Project Smiles. We have created so many miracles last year and continue to create miracles as the season comes around with the holidays. We are asking you to please give a gift from the heart, only from the heart, and pay it forward with a miracle. I do want to share a testimony of my miracle. I received a car. It was a gift. It was a great gift. It was so well received. And my friend, it wasn't a family member, it was a friend who was so generous that gave it to me. She represents gratitude. She's a person of gratitude, and she reminds me to be grateful. She sees the good in paying it forward, and she also is always giving straight from her heart. So again, I just want to share that miracles happen every day, and you could be a part of that. You could not only be a receiver of a miracle like me, but also be a giver of a miracle as well as me. Here at the Pick TV Network, we're all about love and compassion and helping each other rise up. So again, Project Smiles for the PIC TV network. Have an amazing day, everybody. God bless.
When you hear the word coaching, what springs to mind? Football coach? Acting coach? Vocal coach? Maybe even a financial coach? Confusing, isn't it? Well, coach has become such a popular title that it's being used by lots of professions, often with no training. And sometimes coaching is just a fancy way of saying, I'll ask you a few questions and then tell you what I think you should do.